Hey everyone, welcome. Thank you all for getting here nice and early, getting ready. Today is going to be awesome. We're going to get started in just a couple minutes. We'll probably get started right at 2. We have a ton to cover, so make sure you're ready. You got your pad out, your laptop, ready to take some notes. It's going to be some awesome, actionable stuff to take away. So yeah, we'll get started here in just a few minutes.
Muted.
All right, everyone. It is that time. We are going to go ahead and get started here because we have some awesome things in store for you. As you all probably are aware, today will not be a normal support call, so there'll be no check-in, no tech Q&A. If you do have tech questions, Infusionsoft stuff, just email them to me and I'll answer them since we won't be doing it on here. Because today we have something very special. We are joined by Jason Hornig. Jason Hornig runs the Jason Hornig Agency, which, if you couldn't tell by the name, he is the president and founder of that. Him and his team have managed well over $10 million in Facebook ad spend and run some wildly successful campaigns. They run a lot of Frank stuff, so super honored to have him on with us today. We're going to start doing
Unmuted.
more stuff like this for you guys. where, it's not stuff that we normally cover, but we know how important this is to your business, and we want to provide, as much value as we possibly can. So hopefully we'll get more kind of support calls like this, where we bring in someone from outside to teach you something. But we have a lot to cover today. You're going to get a lot of awesome advice, a lot of actionable stuff. So I don't want to keep you too long, and I want to get right into it. So without further ado, Jason, you can go ahead and take it away, man.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for the intro, Josh. I'm pretty excited to be here with you guys today. I've been trying to chat some people up, so in the questions and stuff while we were waiting. So I was trying to keep it light today, in the vein of Frank. And I know you guys are busy. I see a lot of big names in here that I've talked to. Some of my clients are in here. So yeah, I know you guys got a lot of stuff going on. So let's just get right down into it. The title of our training today is how to develop a Facebook advertising strategy to use with your Frank Kern campaigns. Because, what I wanted to be able to give you guys is basically a step-by-step process that you can use to go through and basically create the campaigns that you need to work in conjunction with your Frank Kern stuff. So the first thing that we're going to cover today is a simple mapping method that's going to give you clarity and focus with what ads you need to create and when you need to create them, because it's not about just creating one ad. It's about having multiple ads that basically mirror what you're working with in your campaign, so that you're essentially doing the same thing in your Frank Kern campaign with your advertising to keep people moving through the funnel and having contingencies in place and things like that. And you can actually do that. I'm gonna show you how to map that whole thing out. Then what I'm going to show you how to do is establish your key performance indicators and benchmarks that you can test against, so that you know exactly how each conversion of your funnel needs to perform so you're profitable. Like I don't see anybody else talking about this stuff. It took me a really long time to figure this out. And once you guys see how this works, you'll understand that paid media is really just a numbers game. And once you understand how to actually calculate your numbers, and you can start testing and then figure out and use those numbers to actually engineer profitability, it takes a lot of the overwhelm and a little bit of the fear out of running paid media. Because like a lot of the people that I end up talking to, they're a little bit scared to actually start running traffic because they're afraid they're going to lose money. This will basically allow you to make it all about the data. And so in the get-go, you're just gathering data. You're actually measuring it against where things should be, and then you can make actionable decisions to become profitable based off of that data. I'm going to give you some best practices for setting up tracking systems so that you actually can measure that performance. And then we're going to show you how to use the data that you get from your testing to start optimizing your ads and your funnel for max conversion so that you can rapidly increase your ROI. All right, so I want you to have 3 key takeaways from this training. The first is that you have to have a plan for your ads. A lot of people don't really map out an entire plan for their ads. They just, they decide, well, I need to start running some ads. They put some ads together. It's all based off of guesswork. I want you to understand that you have to have a plan for your ads, and I'm going to show you how to put that plan together today. Second thing is you have to be able to measure the performance of your ads. You don't know, if you're not doing that, you're never going to know if you're winning or not. And then the third thing is you have to know how to iterate your ads in your funnel to improve results. Okay, so very rarely will you ever put an ad together going out to a brand new funnel and have it work exactly the way it's supposed to be at every single point of the process right out of the gate. Something is not going to work in line with your numbers. Sometimes it's everything, okay? So you have to be able to know how to take the data from your testing and then iterate and make changes so that you can improve the results and get to that ROI that you're looking for. And again, I'm going to show you guys how to do all that stuff today. All right, so here's what you're going to have by the end of this training today. You're going to have a step-by-step system for planning, measuring, and optimizing your campaigns and your funnel. All right. So let's get right into the steps. I broke this down into a 4-step process for you because I like steps. I like doing things in a linear fashion, and I like knowing here's what you do first, here's what you do second, here's what you do third, and here's why you actually do it. Okay, so I'm going to give you this is let me back up a little bit and say that none of this is conceptual. Okay, so like Josh said, over the last couple of years, we've run over $10 million in traffic on Facebook alone. And our average client gets a 2-to-1 return minimum on their ad spend. So this is stuff that we've seen working across multiple markets. We've been in over 30 markets over the last 2 years. And so none of this is conceptual. This is all stuff that's been proven to work across multiple markets over many, many years now. So I wanted to show you how to actually take first and map your ad strategy to fit your current campaign. And from what I understand, a lot of people are using the Auto Webby campaign. So I just used this as an example here, and I took a screenshot of the Auto Webby campaign for my Infusionsoft app. All right, so what I want you to do is visualize your campaign as your web pages, okay? So where you've got like your form right here, this Auto Webby register, that's your registration page. So imagine that as your page that you're going to send traffic to get people to register for your webinar. All right, so the first thing that you're doing in this campaign with the way this is designed here is you're sending emails out to your email list, driving people to that registration page to get them to register for the webinar. Well, you want to replicate that process with ads, okay? So what you're going to do is the first thing you're going to do is you're going to have some ads that go directly to that registration page. So that's the first part. Now you see here you've got this contingency for people that didn't register. We want to mirror that contingency, and we can do that with what's called retargeting. If you guys aren't familiar with that, it's basically a piece of code that you can get from Facebook. You should have it installed on every single page of every domain that you own. It's one piece of code that you get. It's unique to your ads account. Install it on every page of every domain that you own, okay? So when people hit this page here, what we can actually do is with that retargeting code, we can create a segmented list of people that have been to that page and they did not opt in. And we do it with some URL parameters, and you can create a contingency then where you can create a separate ad to those people that have hit this page and did not opt in. That's going to be your second ad. Okay, and what you do is you use a little bit of a different angle, you use different language and positioning, just like you're doing in this email sequence here, as a contingency to get those people to come back. Because they clicked on the ad, they went over to the registration page, they're interested in what you have to offer, but for some reason they didn't take that action. Okay, so we want to those are highly qualified prospects. So we want to have that contingency in place so that we can bring them back and get them to opt in. We see really high conversion rates on these retargeting ads, and our cost per registration or opt-in or lead, however you want to phrase that, ends up being really, really low. So it's a good use of your advertising spend to do that. Right now, so if we think through the rest of the sequence here, we've got your indoctrination sequence here. This is really, really, really important to the entire Auto Webby funnel. Because what you're doing here is you're setting people up and you're pre-framing them for the webinar so that they're more qualified to buy. So now if we just relied on the campaign, what you're doing is you're basically just making it so that the only way people can get that indoctrination stuff is if they open up and click through on the emails. And if any of you guys have any experience with email marketing, you'll know that if you're doing pretty good, you get a 20% open rate on your emails, and you get a 5% click-through rate on those emails. So at best, 5% of the people that you're driving through here are going to be clicking through and watching those videos. So what we like to do is we like to put ads into this portion of the sequence where we drive people to those indoctrination videos to get them to consume that content prior to the webinar. Okay, now how do we do that? We do that again with retargeting. So what we can do is we can create a segmented list of people that have not visited the page, and then we can show those ads to people. So if you got 3 indoctrination videos in there, we can segment them out so that we're only showing the ads for, say, video 1 to people who haven't seen video 1 yet. And we can show an ad to people on video that haven't seen video 2 and video 3, etc. What we can also do with those retargeting lists is we can set that list to expire. So we can use the expiration date on that retargeting audience to actually mimic the time frame for when they need to see this before the webinar. Because typically the auto webinar is going to show 4 days after they register. So we can have these audiences expire so they just see those ads in time so they consume that content prior to actually going on the webinar. All right, so then the next piece that we do in this particular funnel is we want to mimic some of the behavioral stuff that Frank does in the campaign. So the next piece that we always do is we create ads to people who saw the sales message and did not buy. All right, we let the campaign do the rest of the work in here with the emails. We want to go after the low-hanging fruit, the people that have actually gone to the sales page and they didn't buy. And you do that again through the retargeting, and you segment the audience based on people that have hit that sales page and didn't buy, and then you show them an ad. And you can actually show them more than one ad as well. So you can show them a series of different ads that mirror the objection handling sequence. So if you've got multiple emails in here that handle different objections, you can create an ad that handles each objection, and you can put these ads in sequence, again, using the expiration dates on the retargeting list, and you can show those ads out over a series to people, just like you're doing with this objection handling sequence to drive them back to the sales page and buy. Okay, so what I want you to really take away from this is an example of how I would, think through a campaign and try to mirror what's happening in the campaign with your advertising. Right? Does that make sense to everyone? Josh, are you there? Josh?
Sorry, I had myself muted. Yeah.
Are we getting questions on that? I'm not. I don't have the questions open.
A little bit, but yeah, you can keep going, and I can read off some of the questions after.
Okay, all right. I just want to before I keep moving, I want to make sure everybody understands that concept. So can people, you just type in, let me know, does that make sense? Do you guys understand what I'm talking about, or do I need further elaboration?
Yeah, we're getting yes. This is great. Thanks.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah, keep on going.
All right.
Understand.
Excellent. All right. So the step 2 is establishing your KPIs and your testing benchmarks. All right, so KPI stands for Key Performance Indicator, if you don't know what that is. These are the key performance indicators that we're typically looking at with our clients. CPA, which stands for cost per action, and that action is usually measured as a sale. We have CPL, which is cost per lead, which is typically an opt-in or a webinar registration, something like that. We have AOV, which stands for average order value, and that's from your initial cart sales. We have LCV, which stands for your lifetime customer value from all purchases that customer makes. We have CPC, which is your cost per click. And then we have conversion rate, which we measure conversion rate from people that hit your opt-in page or your registration page to becoming a lead. And then we also measure the conversion of people that have become leads to actually buying your product and becoming a sale. Thing that you need to understand is the most important metric is sales. So when you're establishing your KPIs and your benchmarks, you actually want to start at the sale and work backwards to figure these numbers out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a hypothetical example here to show you how you go about doing that. All right, so let's assume that you have a $1,000 product and you want to get a 2-to-1 return on your ad spend. So if you take $1,000 and divide it by 2, you get $500. So what that means is you cannot spend more than $500 to acquire a customer if you want to get your 2-to-1 return on your ad spend. So that means your CPA, your cost per acquisition, has to max out at $500. And ideally, you'd want to get it less than that because then that's going to give you a bigger return. right? So now a typical auto webinar sales conversion, the rates are 1 to 5% of the registrants. So out of all the people that you get to register for your webinar, about 1 to 5% of them are going to actually buy your product. All right, so I like to be conservative when I'm calculating this stuff out. So I'm going to use the low end of the figure here. So if you're at a 1% sales conversion, that means you need 100 registrants or leads or opt-ins, however you want to, coin that, to make one sale. So if your CPA is $500, you take that $500, divide it by 100 registrations, and now you're going to be able to determine what your max CPL is, and that's $5. That means you cannot pay more than $5 per webinar registration, assuming that you meet all these other key performance indicators in order to hit your goal of getting a 2-to-1 return on your ad spend. All right. Now, an automated webinar registration page, it's going to need to convert visitors to leads at 20% minimum. Okay, so that means 1 out of every 5 people who visit your page need to register for your webinar. If you're doing worse than that, you're going to have to do some optimization there. Excuse me. So if you need to get registrations for $5 or less, then that means you need to get your clicks for $1 or less. So your target CPC is $1. So if you're looking to get, $5 registration, your page is converting 1 out of every 5, you can't pay more than $1 per click. All right. So now that you know that you need to make your funnel to work to achieve a 2-to-1 ROI, you need to have the following KPIs. You need to get a $1 CPC, a $5 CPL, 20% webinar registration page conversion rate, 1% sales conversion rate, and that will get you a $500 CPA. All right, so now when you start your campaign, what you're going to do is you're going to track all of these statistics, and then you're going to measure how the campaign actually performs against these benchmarks. Okay. Now I'm going to show you the best practices for setting up your tracking systems. That's step 3 here. One thing you need to know about tracking systems: no one single system is perfect. Okay? Every tracking system out there is either reliant upon cookies or scripting, and they cannot possibly work perfect. Okay? So you just need to understand that. Now, what we like to do is we like to actually use multiple systems and then pull data from different systems to get an idea of how things are actually performing. My preferred system is to use Facebook conversion codes and the Infusionsoft referral partner system. All you guys should have Infusionsoft, so that will work for you. And this is the method that we use for measuring Frank stuff. So what I want to do is actually measure or demo for you how to create Facebook tracking codes, how you install them on your funnel, and then I'm going to show you how to actually set up some reports so that you can get this data that you're looking for to be able to measure against those benchmarks we just established in step 2. All right, so let me go out here to Facebook, and I'm going to go to the business manager, and I'm just going to pull up one of my ads accounts here. And while that is pulling up, I want to go back to this page right here and show you guys this. So when I'm creating tracking codes, what I want to do is have a conversion code in Facebook for the 2 main conversion points in the funnel. So if we're doing a lead gen strategy like the auto webinar, where we're getting people to register for the webinar, and then we're also having them buy a product online, I like to have two conversion codes. One that we can use to measure the registrations or the opt-ins, and then one that we can use to measure the actual sales. So we only need to create 2 conversion tracking codes, right? So when you go into Facebook, they just changed this around recently. Now in the new view, if you have that, you'll go up to this tools section here, and you're going to go to pixels. And what we want to do here is click on this conversion tracking pixel tab. And then over here it says create pixel. So we're going to click on that for creating the pixel. Now if we're going to, for the one where we're tracking the registrations, You can either you want to change this pixel type, and the reason you're going to change the pixel type is we want when we create the reports to pull this stuff, we need to have a different type of pixel for each of the conversion points. Okay, because if we kept them both the same, then Facebook is going to combine our sales data along with our leads data. So we don't want that to happen. So if you're doing a webinar, we usually call that registrations or leads. It doesn't really matter which one you use. It's up to you. But I'm going to change this to registrations. And then I would say auto Webby registrant or something along that line. So I know, where these people are coming from. And you might even want to put your product name on there as well. Come up with some naming conventions so you understand what registrations you're tracking with this pixel. And then you simply just click Create Pixel. And what you can do then is click on View the Pixel Code. If you're working with a web developer, you can email it to them, and it'll send them the instructions. But it tells you right here what you need to do. So this code in this box right here, it needs to be installed between the opening head and the closing head tag on the page that you want to track the actions on. So if we go back to our example here, this is your registration page. You do not want to put that pixel on the registration page. It's going to go on the page that people see immediately after they register. So if you're using a thank you page, it's going to be the thank you page. If you've got some kind of liquidator product where you're showing them an offer there, it's going to go on that page. It's the page that they immediately see after opting in. So always make sure that conversion pixel gets installed there. All right, so all you got to do then is, take this code and copy it and paste it in between the head and the closing head tags, or have your developer do that. One key note here, I'm going to open this up in a text file. Now you'll see here that the value in these two spots is set to 0. What I always like to do for a registration is actually change that to $1. Now, for whatever reason, I don't know why, we've seen the conversion tracking pixel track more accurately when we change the value there to 1. I don't know why that is, but it seems to work. So we always do that before we install it. All right. Now, the next conversion pixel that we're going to create is one to track those sales. So this one, I usually use checkouts when we're tracking a sale. And so we would put auto Webby buyer, for example. Now the key is it's a separate pixel type. Okay, so then we're going to click Create Pixel. We can view the pixel code. Pull this out of here. I'm going to put it into a text file, and then we want to change the value. Now what I do here is I'll actually put the product value. So if we have a $1,000 product value, I'm going to put the actual product value here. And the reason I'll do that is then what will happen is in our reporting, this in Facebook, this conversion value will pull back in, and then you can actually measure your return in the Facebook reports. Keep in mind, this is not 100% accurate. What we typically see on the Facebook conversion tracking pixels is that it's somewhere between 80 to 90% accurate. Now, there's a few reasons for that. Mostly that it's based off of scripting, okay? So sometimes people hit the page doesn't load very fast, the pixel doesn't fire off properly. Or if there's something wrong on your page, sometimes scripts can conflict with each other. If people have different settings on their browser, it can conflict with the pixel firing. So don't take the data that comes back from your conversion pixel into the reports that I'm going to show you in a moment. Don't take that for gospel truth. I'm going to show you after this how to set up the Infusionsoft tracking piece of it, and then you can actually use that as a better benchmark for actual sales that you're getting from your webinar. Okay. Once you have those pixels created and they're installed, which, by the way, the sale tracking pixel is going to go on the page that people see after they buy. Okay, so once they complete the order, whatever page it is you're showing them, if it's a thank you page, if it's an upsell page, if it's your membership site, whatever that page is, you want that to go on the page they see after they actually complete the order. All right, so it's your conversion pixels always go on the page that people see immediately after they take the action you want them to take. All right, so now what we want to do is we're going to go in and we're going to create some reports. So the reports, they hit them up under this little button now. And we want to go save new report. I always call our reports JHA evaluation. All right, now what we can do is we can put filters on the report. And instead of walking you through exactly how we do that, I'm going to pull up an existing report. And you see this customize columns button here. Now what you can do is you can click on that, and you can pull in the columns that are important to you to measure. Now, if you think back to what we showed you here for the KPIs, let me just pull that up again real quick. So we've got that. So we want to track our CPA, our CPL, and our CPC. Okay, we can't track average order value per se in Facebook. We can't track conversion rates, and we can't track lifetime customer value. But in these Facebook reports, we want to definitely see what our CPC is, because we need to measure that. We want to see what our CPL is, and we want to get an idea of what our CPA is. Again, the CPL and the CPA are not going to be 100% accurate because they're based off of the conversion tracking pixels. All right. So then you can just go through these columns here, and you can tick off the ones that you want to see. I like to see the total amount spent. I choose website clicks because with Facebook, they actually have a column here for clicks, if I can find it. When you're doing ads on Facebook, they measure as clicks when people click the like button on the thing, or if they comment, or if they share it. You know, if they do any of that social function, they count each of those things as a click, and you actually pay for it. Now, they do measure the actual clicks to the website, so I always put that there because that's the CPC that, you know, I'm concerned about when we're talking about this right here. Okay, that's the CPC that really matters. I could get a really low CPC, but if nobody's clicking over my website, who the crap cares, right? It's all these numbers are based on people actually going to your website that you want to send the traffic to. All right, so then we've got leads. So these columns here where we got leads, cost per lead, registration, cost per registration, checkouts. These are the names of the pixel type that you used. So if you chose registrations, then you want to choose registrations. And you want to do it off of the conversion pixel because that's how we created it. They just started rolling out a way that you can track that stuff with the custom audience pixel. I haven't messed with that yet, and I don't recommend doing that at this point because it's still new. So I would recommend using the conversion pixels. But you just tick off the boxes of the ones that you chose. So if it was leads and checkouts, you just tick off those two. And then you can tick off cost per lead, cost per checkout, and then you just hit apply. And then all these columns will pull up in here. And then you can filter by date, so you can get an actual date range. I'm just going to pull this back to January. Yeah, they had something went wrong in there. But then it'll pull this data into here, and it'll break it all down by campaign. So you can see, by campaign and by ad, how each thing is performing. And then you can start to use this data to measure against those benchmarks, and you can see what ads are working for you and what ads are not working for you, and then turn off the ones that aren't working and keep running or scaling the ones that are working. All right, now the redundancy that we like to build into the reporting has to do with Infusionsoft. And this is so we can get a better idea of the actual cart sales that are coming into the system. Now, the way we do this is we use the Infusionsoft referral partner tracking system. So what we do is we go into here, you click on referral partners, the first step is to create a commission program. So if you go to commission programs, what we like to do is create one called paid media. I've already got one in here, so I'm going to create a new one. I'm going to click on add a commission program, and I'm just going to call this paid media 3, since I already got 1 and 2, and then click save. All right, now there's this default commission. If you just click edit on that and then change the sale to 100%, then what that means is this commission program, every product that's in your Infusionsoft, it will track 100% sale commission to every product that somebody could buy. So the reason we do that is kind of twofold. First, we want to see all of the sales coming through. And second, when people come into your funnel through the auto webinar, you've got all your other campaigns that you're going to be setting up and driving people through. And you're going to get a lot of people that start going through other campaigns and buying other products from you. And so then this will track those other back-end sales as well. And that's how you can start to get a picture of what your LCV is, your lifetime customer value. That's going to be a rolling number that you're going to have to keep recalculating over time. But the reason you want to actually look at that LCV is because it's going to start to change the way that you do your advertising as far as customer acquisition is concerned. Okay, so when you're rolling out of the gate and you're still testing things, you have to base it off the average order value, and that's why I showed you that in the example. But if you find out that people come through your auto webby campaign and then they end up buying like 3-4 other products from you, and your lifetime customer value ends up being, say, $6,000, you could spend a lot more than $500 to acquire a customer and have a really great return. If you keep it at $500 and you scale, then you've got a really great return coming in, and it changes your outlook on how you plan your media. All right, so that's why you want to keep track of the LCV, and it's like I said, it's going to be a rolling number that it's going to change over time. Like ours, as you keep adding campaigns in, ours has been going exponentially up, and so we used to pay a lot less to acquire a customer, but I got more aggressive with what we pay to acquire customers, because I know that I'm going to get that return back out in 30 days or 90 days or 120 days. All right, I hope you get that makes sense. So this is how we're able to actually get an idea of that. All right, so I'm going to save that referral partner program. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to create a contact. So what we do is we just create a contact called paid media, and I think I already have one in here, but I'm just going to show you guys how you do it. Do paid media, and then click save. That's all you need to do. You don't have to put an email or anything else in there. I'm not going to do that because I already got one. But then once you have that contact created in there, then we're going to go up to add a referral partner. Click on that. And then we're going to find paid media. So you just search paid media in here, and it should pull up. Okay, maybe I don't have paid media in here. I'm going to have to add paid media in. If I can spell. There we go. All right, so we got paid media in there. We're going to go add a referral partner. And we'll find paid media. There we go. All right, so once you get that green check mark there, you got to give it for whatever reason, you search the contact, and then you still have to give the referral partner a name. I don't know why the crap they do that. It's the same thing, but I always give it the same name as the contact. Then the code, you got to put this little code that's going to end up being on the links that we're going to create. So I always just abbreviate paid media as PM. Password, I always just do 1, 2, 3, 4. You have to make sure that you set the status to active, because otherwise the referral partner system is not going to track the sales into your all sales report. And then click save. Okay, so now it pulls this view up. And what we got to do is we got to assign it to the commission program. So we're going to assign it to your paid media commission program. Click add, and it's added to the commission program, and we save. Now that paid media referral partner is set up to track sales. After that, what you need to do is you have to create referral tracking links for all of the URLs that you want to send traffic to. All right, so let's say you wanted to send ad traffic to, I'll just pull up one of my pages here actually. Let's just say we wanted to send ad traffic to this URL right here, this fan page. It's not representative of the webinar funnel, but I'm trying to make things go a little bit quicker here. So we're going to click add a referral tracking link. We would name this auto Webby registration. And then you give it a code again. I always just abbreviate the name, paste in your link. And then what you want to do is you want to assign that to the commission program for paid media that you created. Okay, the reason you want to do that is so that this link only shows up in that commission program. If you assign it to other commission programs, then if you've got referral partners or JV partners that you're working with, then they're going to see those links, and you don't want them sending traffic into that funnel because it's going to end up muddying up your data and stuff like that. So always make sure that if any paid media that you're doing, your funnel is exclusive to that paid media. All right, so now I'm going to save that. And then you just do that for all the links that you want to send traffic to. All right. Once that's done, you can view your referral partner. And I'm going to find paid media here. And you got to log in under that referral partner into the referral partner center. And you can go to the link generator. And then this is your tracking link. So this is the link that you're going to actually use on your ad when you create your ad. All right. So then what will happen is when you with this link, you're going to get stats that come back into here, into this link tracking stats. So you can come back into the referral partner by logging in when you find them here. Go to the link tracking stats, and then all your links here will show up once you start driving traffic and you get clicks. And you'll be able to see that the hits are going to be the clicks that are actually showing up on that link. Opt-ins are going to be the leads and registrations. It'll start to track orders and stuff here, and then you can also see orders in the ledger as well. What I find is that the ledger, for whatever reason, doesn't track all of the sales properly. But the hits and the opt-ins are really accurate. So what we like to do is actually compare what we're seeing in the Facebook reports. If I can find that. Must be this one. Okay, yep. So in our Facebook reports, we're going to compare the website clicks to the hits. And then we're also going to compare the leads or the registrations to the opt-ins, and make sure that they're within a high percentage of each other. What we want to do is make sure they're within about 95% of each other, and they usually are. If they're not, then something is probably messed up in the tracking, and then you got to kind of do some troubleshooting to figure that stuff out. All right, so then what you can also do is you're going to have reports in your e-com. So you want to go into your all sales report, and then you can create a search off of miscellaneous criteria, and then one of the criteria is referral partner. So you can actually find your paid media referral partner, click search, and then what I like to do is save this report. You can save it for everybody, and then we would just say paid media sales, and save that. Then that'll show up in this drop-down box. And then you can always come into your all sales report, and you're going to see sales that are tracked to the referral partner link, and then you use that to measure the ROI from your campaign. So you can look at how many sales are actually here, what's the revenue, and then compare that back to your ad spend and calculate out your ROI. One thing to keep in mind about this is because we're using the referral partner piece, there's two things that can happen where this is actually not 100% accurate. Okay, now it's actually going to be accurate in your or inaccurate in your favor, meaning what you see here is actually going to be a little bit less than the actual sales that are occurring. So there's two ways that this will happen. One of them is if you are if you are advertising on multiple devices, meaning you are doing ads where they're showing on mobile on Facebook, and then you also have ads where they're showing on desktop. If somebody goes from an ad on mobile and then they go and they opt in to your webinar, and then they get an email for you for the webinar on their desktop computer, and then they go and they watch the webinar, and then they go and buy. What we see happen a lot is people will use a different email when they buy than the one that they used when they opted in. And so in those circumstances, Infusionsoft can't tie the emails together to credit the referral partner properly. And so what'll happen is you'll see sales that don't get credited to the referral partner that happen like that. The other way is if they opt in on their desktop and then they buy on their desktop, but for whatever reason they've cleared their cookies beforehand, then those won't register as well. So you'll see sales like that show up in there that aren't they're not credited to the referral partner link. But if you look into the contact record, you can pull by tags, and you can see, if you're not running any other traffic into that funnel, you can see what forms they completed, and you can usually track those back to your advertising and then, credit them appropriately. All right. So what we do is we take all that stuff out of those different places, and we actually have a customized spreadsheet that we put together, and I'll just show you an example of one of those here for one of our clients. So we put that all into a customized spreadsheet from all these different areas that track all of the key performance indicators. And so it'll calculate all that stuff out. So we can see the ad spend, the clicks, cost per click, leads, cost per lead. We have it calculate out the conversion rate as well. And oftentimes we'll have it calculate the conversion rate on the landing page and the sales conversion rate, along with the sales and the revenue, so that we can get all of those pieces of information that we need to have in order to measure those benchmarks and then start making decisions on the process, or on improving the process. All right. So that is step 3. It's pretty long. I'm going to open up step 4 now. And all right, so here we go. So step 4 is how to use that testing data to start optimizing your campaign and your funnel. I want to give you some rules to testing and optimizing first before I kind of walk you through how I use that data to improve things. Rule number 1 is you need to treat your testing as a scientist would. All right, so what you're doing is you're gathering valuable data even if you don't make sales. So a lot of people, they get really upset if they spend some money, could be even just as little as like, $10, $20, $30, and then they don't see sales coming through right away. You have to look at it like a scientist. You're gathering the data so that you can measure against these benchmarks to actually see if things are working right. And then based on what's actually happening, then you can make decisions on how to improve. Rule number 2 is you have to understand the importance of statistical relevance. If you don't know what statistical relevance is, let me try to explain this as best I can. So basically what statistical relevance means is that the larger the sampling size of data that you have, the more accurate the information is. Okay? So let's say you send 100 clicks to your webinar registration page and only 10% of them opt in. And then you do another test and you send 1,000 clicks to the registration page and 15% of them opt in. The larger sampling size is actually more statistically relevant than a smaller sampling size. So you want to make sure that when you're doing your testing that you have a large enough sampling size to base your decisions off of. I see a lot of people making rash decisions off of too little information. Like they'll send 100 clicks to their website. They don't, they get like 10 opt-ins. They don't make a sale, and then they conclude that the funnel don't work. Well, when I start to walk you through some of these other numbers, you'll see like that it wasn't even remotely close to enough traffic to even get a test for sales. Okay, so just understand that The more data you have, the more statistically relevant and the better the information is. Rule number 3 is never shut off something that is working within your KPI. Like a lot of times I see people that like things are working and then they want to run a test, and what they'll do is they'll shut off that thing that's working and they'll put a new ad out, and then it doesn't work nearly as well. You should never shut off anything that's working within KPI. You should always test against that. Rule number 4 is conduct proper A/B split tests of your hypotheses. So a lot of people that I'll see when they've got ideas, they've got a whole bunch of different ideas, and they'll change all of these different variables, and then they'll run a test, and it may or may not work better, but you don't really know if it did work better, what caused it to work better, or if it worked worse, you don't know what actually caused it to work worse. So the only way for you to determine that is to actually only test one variable at a time. So if you have an ad that's working and you want to try a different headline, then you copy all the elements of the ad and the only thing you change is the headline. And then you test those against each other and see which one performs better. Then you know for a fact if your second headline did better than the first headline or not. All right, so now I'm gonna walk you through how I make optimization decisions, and I'm gonna do that by showing you these reports. Okay, so now what I do is when I get these reports in from my data analyst, I have an employee that goes through and puts all this stuff together. I'm going to be looking at this all these categories compared to our benchmarks. Right? So if I established a $1 cost per click benchmark for this client, and then I established a $5 cost per lead benchmark, as I'm looking at this, if I see our cost per lead is high, and I'm also seeing our conversion is pretty low, then that tells me that something's wrong on my landing page, because my conversion rate should be at 20%. And if I'm getting 39-cent clicks, and if I was converting at 20%, I would be much, much lower than a $5 CPL. So what this tells me is then I got to start making some changes to my landing page to improve the conversion on that. There's a whole litany of different things that you can do. This isn't a conversion rate optimization training, so I'm not going to get into any of that stuff. But I wanted you to understand, like when you look at the data and you compare this to the benchmarks, this is how you can start thinking through and seeing, how do I start, where do I focus my attention on? What's my highest leverage point to start working on? In the get-go, it's going to be always in relation to your registration page and the lead. Then as you start moving more people through the funnel, I'm going to show you some different stuff here, then you're going to start getting sales data coming through. And you can measure and see, okay, so is my sales conversion high enough? Am I getting a return? And if you're not, then that tells you need to start looking at some of the things internally on your funnel. Are people actually showing up on your webinar? If they're not showing up, then you need to look at your email copy and stuff like that and see, are they getting opened? Are people clicking? That will tell you to start focusing on, making adjustments in there. If that's occurring and people are actually getting on the webinar and they're not buying, then it's something with your sales message, and you need to have to start running some tests to improve the sales message. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. And we're coming up on about 10 minutes to the top of the hour already. That really is the full 4 steps I wanted to share with you guys today on how you map all this stuff out. You establish your KPIs and your benchmarks for testing, the best practices for how you can set up your tracking systems, and then how you can use that testing data to start optimizing your campaign and your funnel. This is all just the tip of the iceberg to advertising successfully, especially on Facebook. But I feel like this is for many of you, this is going to be the biggest leverage point for you right now when you're just getting your current campaigns to getting ready to start running ads, and then having a process for how you go through and analyze and improve. I thought this would be the most value for you. So, at this point, we can go to Q&A. Josh, did you want to
Yeah,
fire some of those off?
yeah, I got some questions here. First off, thank you so much. That was awesome, super valuable. Just reading through the comments and stuff, people were loving it. So, and four, just to answer this, yes, everyone, this is recorded. It will be posted to the Facebook group. That was a very common question I got. So you can go back and rewatch it if you were confused, if your head felt like it was about to explode, which it should have, because that was super in-depth and awesome. So thanks, everyone. Give them a virtual round of applause.
Yay!
So a couple of, or at least the theme of some of the questions is people are struggling with kind of scaling up. So they'll test an ad, they'll start to get some good numbers, and it may be just, not a big enough sample size, but when they try to ramp up and increase the spend, the conversion rates drop and their cost per lead shoots up through the roof. Do you have any reason as to why that might be, or maybe some tips to kind of help with that?
Yep. Actually, I can tell you several reasons why that occurs. Because usually what happens is somebody will test with a low budget. They'll run it for maybe a week or so. And then, it's working well, and then they just shoot the budget up. That's usually doesn't work very well. And the reason for that is Facebook is actually in the background. They're optimizing your campaign in that ad set to the budget that you have set. And so if you make a sudden and drastic increase to that budget, it actually throws off the algorithm and it can't perform the same. So what you got to do when you're looking, there's actually three dimensions that you can scale on. And I did a webinar on that. I'm going to post the link to it. That's this. I posted it up on this page of my site, where I show you the three different dimensions that you can actually scale your campaign on. So the first is vertical, where you're actually increasing the budget, and I'll show you two ways that you can increase the budget on a winning ad without making it go all out of whack like that. Then the second dimension is actually scaling your campaign horizontally. So I'll show you a bunch of ways that you can create and find additional audiences that you can use to scale your campaign that way. And then the third dimension I call spherical scaling, where it's basically taking different campaign objectives and bidding strategies and kind of wrapping those around an audience that's working, and scaling a campaign that way. So that I put the link in the chat here, so you guys can go out that. It's on my blog. The video's open right here. I think it's about an hour and a half long.
Awesome. And we'll do a couple more. Can you explain how, I think this is kind of more in step one, how to set the ads to expire in, like 3 days or something when they're in that specific point? So if they're like in the indoctrination period, just kind of go through, explain how to get those to expire in a couple of days for that specific person.
Sure. So if you go to your tools section here, and then you go to the pixels, it's set to the custom audience pixel here. Here we go. We click on create audience. And so when you get this box up right here, what you want to do is choose people visiting specific pages but not others. So, if we were going to want to show an ad to people that haven't seen, they've seen video 1 but they haven't seen video 2, then we would put the video 1 URL here, and I actually paste the whole URL in there and leave it at URL contains. And then we exclude people who haven't seen video 2, so we put the video 2 URL here. And again, just paste the URL of the page that you have video 2 on. Now, if you want people to see that ad, let's say video 2 goes out 2 days after they opt in. All right. What you do here is you control that with this number of days. So you would actually change that to 2. And so that means that this group of people here, this audience that's going to show up on this when we create this audience, it's going to be made up of people that have hit this page and haven't hit this page in the last 2 days. And then it's only going to, so then they're going to fall off of that if they don't meet that criteria. And so then you just, you give this a name like video to retargeting or something like that, just so you understand what it is, and then you create that audience. And then what you do is when you create your ad that drives people to video two, you set the target as this custom audience so that it's only showing to those people that are on this audience that you're creating. So think of your custom audience like when you install this pixel across all of your site, it's just like an email list. And with this with these parameters in here, you can chop up and you can segment that email list, and you can mimic behavioral stuff that the behavioral dynamic stuff that Frank's doing in the campaigns. You can mimic that with your custom audiences and with your advertising then.
Awesome. What tips would you have if people were selling maybe a little bit lower end products? So like $100, maybe a couple $100. Would you do the retargeting for the indoctrination and the objection handling and everything, or would you maybe kind of scale that down for the smaller ticket products?
No, I would include that at any price point, because the whole purpose of the indoctrination stuff is to pre-frame people and get them ready to buy, and so it's pretty essential. Now, I think the concern there is that you may be spending more money and spending yourself out of profit. Just set the budgets really low. You don't have to put too much on there, like maybe $5 a day. And depending on how big your audiences are, it's going to vary depending on how much traffic you have. But you may or may not even spend that full $5. But it's definitely a good use of your spend, because it's furthering the prospect along towards the sale.
Awesome. Do you use any like tools or special formulas to measure statistical relevance to know kind of when it's safe to make that decision?
Well, we use a tool called Visual Website Optimizer, and that actually calculates the statistical relevance in the system. So we put that, it's a software that you can run heat maps, and then it'll allow you to conduct split tests on your landing pages and stuff like that. So it calculates out in those tests what the statistical relevance is. Now, if you don't want to get a piece of software like that, there's some rules of thumb that we will use if we're not using that tool. One is I don't consider anything less than 500 clicks to like your registration page to be statistically relevant. The reason being is you'll see like fluctuations in clicks. Like the first 100 clicks you might only get 5 opt-ins, but then your next 100 clicks you might get 20 opt-ins, right? So that's the danger to making decisions off of too small of information, because you never know, like especially in the get-go with a campaign, Facebook's trying to figure out who the best person is to show your ads to, and as it starts to gain steam and it sees more people are seeing it over time, it starts to understand who is a better person to see that, and you'll get better conversion over time. So again, that's just another reason why you need to make sure you have a large amount of data. In terms of measuring sales conversion, anything you can't base any decisions off of less than 100 people seeing your sales message. Typical sales conversion is only going to be 1%. So if you are looking at, you said 50 people have seen your sales message and nobody bought, and you're like, shit, my sales message isn't working. You haven't even had enough people on there yet to even really say that, right? So less than 100 out of the question. You should probably be looking at least 200 to 300 people seeing your sales message before you even start making any determinations on that.
Great, man. Well, that's all the time we have. I'm going to let you go. I know you have that pesky agency to run, so we've got some other stuff to do, but we really, really appreciate you. That was awesome. I learned a ton, so if nothing else, I learned a lot. I'll be rewatching that. No, but I'm just reading the comments. Everyone really seemed to enjoy it. They got a ton out of it, and this is great value for everyone. So thank you. We really appreciate you coming on. For everyone else, thank you for for hopping in and sticking out and participating, asking questions. That was great. Go to Jason's blog. What's your website, Jason? JasonHorningAgency.com.
Yep.
Cool. Go there, check out his blog for, you can learn a ton of other stuff. If you have any additional questions, like I said, if you have tech questions, go ahead and email them to me. We're not going to do any of those on this call, but I will respond to them. So thank you so much, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.
Cool. Thanks, guys.